It's ready.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Constituting a quorum, I'm going to call the meeting of the Recreation and Parks Board for the City of Port Lavaca to order. And with that, the first item on the agenda is general discussion, and here statements from citizens. Who wants to speak this morning under that?
I can speak. My name is Rose Bland Stewart, and I'm born and raised in Port Lavaca. One thing that I would like to, and I had 3 boys that came through Calhoun High School, and I've worked with CCYFL. I was a select basketball coach, all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I'd like to see is stuff for the kids. We do not have anything outdoors really for these kids. Basketball is one of the #1 things these kids do. They have the Y, but only if you can afford the Y, or if your parents are a member of the Y. They do have that. They have the parks that are out here. But we need a full-size basketball court with a cover, and I'm sure all of you've seen, Victoria, that cover that they have on that court for these kids to play. My kids would play they play both Tilly and the other park, but I also taught behavior children for 31 years. They need something to do, and I take them and we play, and I take them to the park and we play basketball. But basketball is one of the #1 things that these kids will do all the time if you let them. Calhoun High School, you cannot go in those gyms and play basketball. Calhoun High School will charge a select team to play basketball. I know this because I've had to pay fees, and those kids cannot afford that. So as parents that really can't afford it, will afford it just to keep the kids off of the street. So I am suggesting or asking, and if we need anything else, if I need some statistics, if I need to bring any other people up here, is for the city of Port Lavaca to look into, and it doesn't matter where it's at, because wherever y'all build it, they're gonna go to. For them to look into a covered basketball court or some type of facility. I mean, we can add other things in there, but I do know when it rains, they're inside. They need to get outside. And this is coming from a teacher point of view. They need to be outside. There's too much phones, there's just too much going on, and we need to get our kids outside. But in Port Lavaca, there's just nothing for them to do. I mean, and it's wonderful they got the skate park, but we need something that the majority of the kids like to do, and it's basketball. We got soccer fields, which is great, but basketball is one of the things that
Ms. Stewart, or Ms. Glenn, sorry. So what you're trying to tell us is that you want it covered, because I know most of our parks do have courts.
right.
They have, the backstops and the net and everything, but you want it just covered?
I would like to see a full court basketball court. I'm gonna tell y'all what I would do. They always say, "Let all the kids come to your house," because we put, and it's not far, but we have a big driveway. But we put 2 courts on the end. Now, mind you, it ain't half court, but they would play, and I'd sit out there with them, and they'd always tell me, "I wish we had a full basketball court, a full size court."
Right.
So that we can actually really play.
Right.
And not only that, we can bring people here to do camps for these kids, especially for the underprivileged kids that cannot afford. And I think that's what we're missing. Port Lavaca is missing. We're gearing towards these parents that can afford this stuff. But a lot of the kids, they can't afford it, so they don't go to the camps. They don't go to the volleyball camps and this camp and that camp, because they can't afford it. But I feel like if we had a full basketball court, we could get some of these guys. And I think somebody mentioned in our meeting this weekend about Michael Jordan in Bay City. I was there. Michael Jordan. We could get these guys to come and do a camp and run, but we just don't have the facilities for that. So I would like to see a full-size court covered to where they can go out and play, and we can have tournaments, and we can do things like that, because we would also go, and we play lots of things. We've been to Vegas, we've been to Chicago, and they have those things for the underprivileged kids to come out and play on just an outside covered thing, and they just have such a good time.
Yes, they do. In my
So-
neighborhood, they do the driveway thing.
Right,
You know,
right. And I'm telling you, when I say they play from day to day, they play from morning to night. You just give them some water, give them a few drinks. And I had the whole neighborhood at my house. This one parent was like, why are they going to your house? What's so special? Nothing. I have 2 basketball courts, you know, but anyway, that's what I am proposing. I would like to see a full-size court with a cover over it, doesn't matter where it's at, because wherever it is, they're gonna go to. They're gonna.
Excuse me, do you know what the size of a basketball court is?
Shoot, Joey. Technical standards. Yeah.
Because you know,
For this.
as, George Adams.
That's just. Yeah. That's that. But not just when you do the basketball, you can put lines for volleyball as well. It don't have to just be basketball. Like when I coached at Calhoun, we call it the new gym, it's not really new. Gym across from the tennis courts.
Mhm.
They geared that gym for a lot of things. So you'll see a lot of lines if you go in that gym or you've been in that gym. Because it was geared for basketball, it was geared for volleyball, it was geared for badminton. You can do more than just basketball. You know, if you gotta look up the dimensions and all that kind of stuff. But it don't have to be just basketball. It can be badminton, volleyball, it could be whatever, but just to get our kids out.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the master plan we have for Wilson Park, there's room for a whole basketball there. And of course, then we have half courts right now at City Park. And City Ridge Park. And that, that is one of the things we've got. Today, I'm thinking of this perfect timing, what we want to put in our 5-year plan is every year, see what the next 5 years and what we can try to budget for this next time.
Yeah, because I've noticed, at City Park, there's a lot of kids that play that court. It's a nice little court.
Silly,
And,
yes.
we just mounted a nice drinking fountain down there, and then we've got the learning trail there. So I know a lot of people play at that court.
Yes, they do.
I know when I was growing up, I lived right across the street from there, and
Right.
friends would go play basketball, and I'd go over there and watch them play. But now that half court, that gets used a lot.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And it does, but I just think they'll get more out of it. You give them a full covered court, when it rains, they're gonna get it. Because they want to go outside, they want to be able to do something, especially in the summer, because kids, their minds, they have idle minds, and if they're on that court, they're just gonna play. Where the boys are, the girls are gonna be sitting. So I'm just saying, it's gonna bring lots of kids.
Yes, well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All righty.
So, take a second as well.
Yes, sir.
But kind of to expound on that, we had a meeting on Saturday, and that was one of the things on the original township site, the south side of town, is people really wanted to see more investment in Georgia Adams Park specifically, and one of the things that was identified was the half court being possibly full court, and then the idea that having a good sun and rain cover would be a huge good. So that's one reason. We had a nice conversation there, and I encourage you to come today. So we can
Yes.
speak to the meeting about that. The second item, unrelated to that, is I've been talking with some of the people from the baseball teams, Little League, that kind of area, and they're very interested in the 5-year plan for Wilson Park. I had about 3 people that couldn't make it today, work and other extenuating circumstances, but I told them I'd come down here and just kind of listen and maybe, see what you guys had in store for Wilson Park. They're interested in maybe seeing some upgraded facilities, upgraded fields. A lot of people mentioned some of the places where they're traveling to these other ball courts in Victoria, and I can't remember all the towns, Guero, and they said the facilities there bring in, business and traffic and weekend tournaments and all that, and they're really hopeful that Wilson Park Sports Complex can kind of, focus a little bit towards that baseball field, because there are a few places you can play basketball, there's a few places you can do volleyball, but baseball fields do take up a lot of, resource and time and space and maintenance. And one other concern that they had that came up a lot was off-season maintenance. There's some people that want to help volunteer, there's some people that want to help put some effort and some time in, but things get a little muddy when you have a plan and, unknowingly somebody volunteers in the wrong aspects or works against the master plan. So they wanted to see if there was some way we could get a little bit of a community connection with our parks and recreation.
Now that you mentioned that, the baseball field, we got 14 yards of red dirt hauled down there. And they pretty much used all that just for the baseball field.
Yeah.
And yes, we've been working with the volunteers and they've done some fertilizing. We purchased a lot of irrigation equipment. The sprinklers that are high so they can move them around and not just for the ball, not for just that one field. We have enough hoses that we can do all the fields. And so, so we can irrigate them because I know we'll get out there in mowers in the summertime. There's cracks this big,
Yeah.
and so, we're gonna have to really step up on the maintenance down there, where we can keep them up better because I know we've got low spots, dirt, red dirt. And I've still got some red dirt. We've got some low spots in the Little League one. The first one on the right. There's some low spots there, and we'll get those filled up, and we'll continue to try to do our part. But hey, we appreciate all the volunteers that are volunteering their time and equipment.
Yeah.
I know
somebody.
I know Jason, they had a Bobcat out there, so I've been working with him real close.
That's good. Yeah. It's kind of work.
Was there any comments about more fields or just keeping up what we?
People are interested in more field, more facilities,
Wow,
public
yeah.
seatings. I
Yeah, I know there's,
don't think there's a lot of extra room.
Yeah.
available, but I do know that, they get kind of crowded during the seasons and they have these games going on to 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock. At night. Kids going out there and, the heat really impacts people out there. Maybe better coverage.
I myself, that thing was built in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's still there. My opinion is I think we should concentrate on what we've got and maintaining what we've got before we start adding more stuff that we can't even maintain what we have right now.
Sure. Yeah.
If we can get what we got looking good,
Yeah.
then maybe in the future, we can expand,
Yeah.
But I'm with Jody, there's really not that much room to put another field there.
Yeah. There's not much as far
Yeah,
as.
and in the concession stand, all that was rebuilt here
Right.
years ago. So.
Yeah, they did a real good job on the remodel, and so
But yeah, they still have to be identified as.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any one specific targeted thing. I was just, I've got that store right there around the corner. So I see these.
Oh, yeah.
Cleats all the time. The parents come in when there's a problem with the bathroom facilities. 100 kids come to use the bathroom and buy 2 Gatorades. So I hear a lot of chatter and murmur. I talk to a lot of the parents while they're in the store, and I've had some contact me specifically because I'm always right there.
Yeah.
And they're just saying there's a lot of movement going on there, and it really wants to make sure, because I think the money on the skate park is great. Don't get me wrong, the skate park was an overwhelming success, but the people that sitting at the baseball fields saw all that money and were sitting there kind of going like, can we get some?
Yeah.
And I think that is.
And so they're just concerned. People want to make sure that they're understood, that they're not quite satisfied, and that we're continuing to work forward. I assured them that is.
And on that part, excuse me, how many associations are we talking about baseball? I mean, are we talking adults or just children?
Well, mostly kids. It's mostly a kids thing. I mean, you have some bigger fields. There's a Little League field there too, but I'm mostly hearing this is more the
League,
middle school and younger leagues.
but no select, no adult.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening there. I've not seen it. I'm not saying they don't, but I've not seen those type of people there.
A lot of people don't
Yeah.
want to go to that facility, and so they actually go, Victoria's got a big complex, there's some other complexes in the
Right.
area, and one thing that people have mentioned is they're frustrated with having to travel to have those kind of facilities.
Yes, honestly, if we, and that, I think that's again part of communication. If we know,
Mhm.
they would play, I think that was part of my understanding, some of the issues in the past, is they would practice here, but not play.
Mhm.
Right.
So we weren't, and so.
Flux.
But if we know because obviously that's what we want, we'd love to be at,
Right.
teams come and play and we bring people in. And that's what, we're working on the parking, so you have a place to park when we have all these things. And we know, then I think we're better positioned to justify spending more money
Right.
on it when it's something that's going to be used.
I do think it's one of those things when you come to parks, though, it's one of you have to build it for them to come, you can't really cater.
Well, I understand that part, but I see it in the soccer. In my soccer in the city park, I wondered who plays out there.
Mhm.
And it's the adults that are out there, not to say that the children are gonna, bring in tournaments and stuff. Coming to find out it was in a Victoria Association.
Mhm.
And so far, they've been maintaining their soccer field out there. Now we mow and stuff like that, but as far as the netting and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's getting very popular out there. I mean, I even got vendors that are sitting out there, the bicycles.
Yeah, you get that.
The
it's
city,
hard to get a little-
it is.
Oh, they did? Oh, somebody was,
Yeah.
I didn't know, they thought the
Now,
association bought them.
the city bought those and we installed
I did not
Okay.
know. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Not informed.
them.
Okay,
Yeah, the other ones were old steel pipe
Yeah,
that was rusted and shrimp nets.
yeah,
Remember that?
yeah, because that's what.
Yeah, we-
And they said, oh, the association bought them.
We installed.
Apparently, they're misinformed.
okay, we appreciate those comments. I will interject here. One thing that we are at a disadvantage over places like Victoria and Cuero because we're an end of the line sort of a town. We're a half a wagon wheel, if you will. Whereas Victoria and Cuero, they can be more like hubs and they're going to be able to attract a bigger crowd to do the special things you're talking about. I would like to see it. I would hope that we could make it work ultimately. We have an uphill battle here being kind of at the end of the line.
Well, we used to have an association, and that's the reason I asked, was there an adult association? Because there was men and women when it first started. When the-
Back in the 80s.
Right.
Yes.
And it was like after that, the children then took over
We
and,
used to actually sponsor one of the female softball teams.
yep,
back in-
Well, those fields are originally built for softball.
right.
Those two, I don't know about this
That
last
one?
one, but those fields, and that's probably a lot of the problems.
T-ball.
It's regular baseball and then 2 softballs.
Okay,
Okay.
so, but the original was softball.
Yes, it was.
That was the original, and Calhoun used to host, I don't know what now, but they used to host a lot of little league tournaments. But the fields were not maintained, and it seems to me like y'all are maintaining the fields, y'all are keeping them up.
Right in the corner.
So I don't know, it's just, you have to go out there and get those teams, and you have to put in a bid to have those tournaments.
Last year, me and my supervisor and one of my coworkers, we went to a training in Victoria at their ball field to see what they do and what kind of equipment they have that, we could bring that knowledge down here. And there was a guy from Texas A&M that was putting on the training. And it was about 4 hours, and we walked around, looked at their fields. And the guy from Texas A&M was really nitpicking their fields. I mean, like, hey, this is not right, that's not right. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, because I know we have the complete opposite of what they have. They have 8 guys working in that facility.
Right.
That's the only place they go. They don't go weed eat over on the other side of town. They have 8 guys. That's where they work every day, 5 days a week.
But it is nice fields and nice.
And it's a nice field and it needs the floor,
Well, I just wanted to kind of add a few things to almost what everybody had to say is kind of like, for the teams, we do need to add something here for the community. I believe as well for the adults, I think both of them go hand in hand. keeping the baseball fields together. Also to what Mac had said, I know Victoria is somewhat the hub, but to me, that's thinking of what's on the other side of Victoria, right? So for me, I don't look at Victoria as a hub to this area because somebody has to be the hub for everybody on the other side of us. So that means everybody that goes to Victoria passes through us to go that way. So we could be a hub for the coastal area and Victoria could be the hub for everything on the other side of the thing.
Well, that's what I was saying, Bobby, is we're a half a wagon wheel if we,
And I think that half the wagon wheel is just enough for us to have the spot for the coastal area to bring Rockport, Bolton, Alachua, Blessing.
sure, I get what you're saying.
We are there, Victoria. You know, so, and then Victoria, of course, I know Victoria is the big hub, but a lot of those towns, they come to us like we're in Victoria. They come here to watch the movie because none of those towns have them. And they don't have the restaurants and the things that we have. And I know we don't have as much as Victoria, but for them, we have enough that makes them say, we don't have to go to Victoria.
All righty. Thank you very much for the comments. Anything else under general discussion? I would like for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Parks Board members in particular, please mark your calendar for the next meeting, which will be Wednesday, June 21st. Right here at noon, so. It's being the 21st, it's the latest date in the month that we could have a Parks Board meeting on the third Wednesday. Anyway, just so happens. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held April 19th, 2023.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is receive Parks and Recreation's operation and maintenance report from the Director of Public Works. I guess you're going to be doing that.
I can do that. I think Lorena has the park inspection reports.
But we have an agenda item on that one, so
Okay.
we'll talk about that in.
Oh, yeah, okay, I got you.
Sorry.
Anyway. Maintenance report, well. As y'all can see, we have a lot of, we've got a lot of water out there, so, you know, we're mowing where we can. We were able to mow Ranger the other day, yesterday, they're weed eating that. And we've got the Bower and all the parks need to be mowed, but, we're limited where we can put lawnmowers right now.
Sunny today, so that should help, right?
Huh?
Sunny today.
Yeah, it's sunny today, but,
Can mow tomorrow?
no, I'm thinking maybe the Bower will be dried up enough to get some lawnmowers over there tomorrow, because I know y'all have a meeting over there tomorrow. And so I'm gonna try to get the lawnmowers over there, but, you know, but we are running behind on mowing and, just because of all the rain, you know, we do, Olga saw us, in the process of putting the rule signs up at all the parks that, you know, they've been in for a while and it takes a while to, get the material. The large signs that are gonna be, the rule signs, it's gonna go in every park. I have to have 14-foot 4x4s and I ordered those. And they should be in next week, but we did have stuff, they did have some 4x4s long enough to mount the sign at City Park, the welcome, it says welcome to City Park. I'm hoping that'll be up today, if not tomorrow for sure, because I wanted that up by the holiday. And so, all the other parts, you know, we're mowing them as we can, you know. But we're, you know, Wilson, we were able to mow a couple fields last week. The rest of them are just too wet to get in there to mow. And the skate park, we can't even get a lawnmower in there right now, it's too wet. And then they've been doing all the construction now. I did notice they did open the new parking lot there. So, you know, that's open to go park there now. Lighthouse Beach, you know, like, with all the water, you know, we've been having a lot of debris floating up on the beach, and so we're trying to maintain that. All the other parks look pretty good, you know. I think we were able to mow Butterfly last week, and it's on my mowing list to get next, but it's got a low spot there, so we're kind of limited if I can get lawnmowers in there or not. But after today, if it dries out enough, I'm hoping by about maybe next Wednesday, we'll be caught up with our mowing, you know. Other than that, I think everything else is going pretty good.
Righty. Thank you, Eddie.
Yes, sir.
Now, item 4. Receive monthly inspections report from the Public Works Department. I guess
That'd be me. And she's, I think you've got that online, don't you?
Sarah attached.
yeah.
So, you know, as far as the monthly inspection reports, you know, all the park equipment is looking good. There's a few plus spots that I'm gonna get some OSPO, and we're gonna paint them before they start deteriorating. I know Jody sent me a couple of pictures, and it's on my agenda list to some spots that we have down at Bayfront. Also, I'm not sure if I brought it up at the last meeting, but we did at City Park, the Ashley Fields side. We had to replace a component on the place gate that was damaged. And so it came in and we installed that. All the rest of the place gates are looking real good, you know. So I think that's about all I got as far as the park inspections go. But if y'all notice anything while y'all are out there, you know, just give me a holler and we'll take care of it as soon as we can.
I only have a little question on that. You had a gentleman that was trying to get in license for chemicals.
Yes.
Did he ever get licensed, sir?
Do you know which,
I think he's talking about, you're talking about for the
Ants? No, for the ants, basically, because I noticed the ant piles. But I know we can't do anything with it really until we get that gentleman certified. And I can't,
which,
I don't think I ever heard a name.
which area are you,
Ant piles.
I know them to use chemicals to kill the ants.
to kill what?
Well, that's what somebody had told me. I don't know if it was Wayne or
To kill what?
James. The
Oh,
ants.
ants.
Yeah.
Oh, ant. Well, typically, right now we're using the granules that we buy.
Uh-huh.
But Simplot, the old Mormon gin, that's Simplot now. And I have a good relationship with one of the guys that works there, his name is Jason.
Uh-huh.
And I have my herbicide and pesticide license.
You do?
Yes, ma'am. And I can purchase stuff from him that, you know, we can't get a Tractor Supply.
Right.
That is for commercial use, and it would be a concentrate. And I'm in the process of working with him to, because we have an account there. And so I'm gonna start working with him to see if we can get a spray that, because I know right now with all the rain, their ants are everywhere. Everywhere we go to dig a hole, there's an ant bed and we get bit by them. And so, yeah, I'm working with Jason and we'll try to, and, I have a license to spray that stuff, so. In fact, we got a couple of individuals because originally, if you're familiar with, a non-commercial license, a herbicide license to spray pesticide, herbicides. There's, 2 licenses that we need to do that. Currently I have a 5. And a 5, allows me to, do the curbs and easements. Okay, so we got it audited. And, we had a little hiccup, but it was no big deal. But we also need, one for vegetation management. Vegetation management allows us to go inside of a park to spray for, ants and, weeds. Currently, we don't have that certification on my license. So last week, me and 2 other of my coworkers went to take the course, and now we have to go pass the test. So then we'll be 100%. We can spray herbicide and pesticide anywhere in the city, other than a structure.
Well, good luck.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I passed the test first time. This is just another add-on. Yeah, but that way we'll be able to maintain the ants better than just with the granules.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you. Next item on the agenda is receive update on park assignments from the park board members. I guess I'll be the one to start today. I'll let you off the hook, Mark.
Okay.
Drove by Claret Crossing, and I understand what you mean by everything needs mowing, but one thing that I noticed about Claret, and I made a note of it. Claret is built up on high ground. There should not be one wet spot on that.
It's, the park, it's, it's a new park.
Right.
And so all that dirt is real loose,
Okay.
it's not compact like Bayfront, but yeah, that's on my mowing list.
Okay.
I'll go down there this afternoon and I'll see if we can, because if there's just a couple of those spots, we'd eat that,
Right.
but yes, that's, it's on my list.
Yeah, and I knew it would be, Eddie.
Yes, sir. But typically,
Note that the park itself is probably.
no, it's 3
probably
foot.
a Good 2 feet of elevation.
It is.
Above the curbs and it's sloped off pretty
Right.
rapidly on all sides.
Yes, sir.
And so it's going to drain off pretty quickly. And I do understand about it being relatively new soil.
Yes, sir.
Because it was built up.
Right.
I know that wasn't that
Now,
high originally.
yeah, Mac, now that you brought that up, the debris that was there,
Yes,
that was recently taken care of.
appreciate that.
So, we didn't do it. We didn't do it, but it got done. And,
It took probably some hounding, I would assume, but
also they did a new ADA driveway, from one side. Yeah, sidewalk, I'm sorry. So there'll be some backfill we're gonna have to do there also. And we'll take care of that, by the time. Right now, we're just kind of waiting for everything to dry up,
yes.
Yeah, other than that, but yes, that's on my mowing list.
Yes, sir. Then I took a drive by Bayfront.
Yes, sir.
And it's like every other part, it does need mowing, but I do know that there's plenty of low spots in that area.
Oh, yeah,
to deal with. So
yeah.
that's an issue, but
In fact, I was on the lawnmower last month and it rained the week before and I got stuck, and typically, some of the slopes over there, you don't want to put a lawnmower, like I call it the boardwalk,
right.
that long board. It's real hard to put a lawnmower on there when it's kind of damp,
Right. But just as an observation, there were quite a few people out at the park while ago, just at Bayfront,
Oh, yeah.
walkers, and somebody was using the splash pad,
Yes, sir.
and so that's a well-utilized park, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm not for sure if you remember the last meeting, but somebody took out the dog station with the car.
I don't remember that.
Right when you drive in, you know, we installed a new trash can there,
Mhm.
and there was a doggy station there. And somebody took it out with a car. And there's a brand new one there right now. It was installed yesterday. Right when you drive in on your
Right side.
right-hand side.
Okay. I think that's all I have. I just did a glance when I went past the Baybauer Park.
Mhm.
You know, it's like that park actually didn't really look like it needed mowing.
We mowed it yesterday.
Okay. So there you go. All right, Olga?
My city park looks really well. The only thing that I did notice is, like I mentioned, was the ant piles. And I'm fixing to call the commissioner, see if I can get him to spray out there because there were tons of mosquitoes in the park, in the restrooms. The restrooms were very nice and clean and they smell very well, so I'm assuming they had just cleaned it. But, you know, it's the usual, the yard, you know. And I saw the gentleman out there working, trying to put up the signs. It looked like they were having a difficult time. And then as far as Butterfly Park, the same thing. It was clean, it's neat, just needs mowing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I'll get,
Do it.
if I don't get lawnmowers over there to Butterfly today, it will be tomorrow.
And I noticed at City Park, they picked up that dead tree, so that was nice.
Hold on.
Back over there by the pavilion, kind of, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That it?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, I was by at George Adams this morning. The women's commode doesn't flush.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's recent.
it's recent, but it's bad.
Okay.
Okay.
That's recent because
It's,
I haven't heard of that one yet.
yeah, no, I was,
Yeah.
it's backed up.
I'll go.
The rest of the rest of the park looks great. They got all that construction still going on over there.
Oh, yeah.
It's all, there's plenty. And somebody drove a truck through where,
I saw that.
yeah, what the heck? I don't know why.
Oh,
I don't know what the thinking was. Hopefully it wasn't the city. I hope-
yeah, no, it not, believe me, it wasn't a city truck.
Yeah.
I'm pretty,
You saw it then. Okay.
Yeah.
I just, in
I-
the ground's still pretty wet. The
Yeah.
grass actually, the grass is in pretty good shape.
yeah,
I mean, it's all gonna need to be mowed, but
Oh, yeah.
that grass, man, the rains really helped that park.
Yeah.
The grass is gonna come in pretty good once it dries out a little.
now, I think the last meeting I told you, George Adams is getting a new swing set.
Oh, yeah.
It should be here in 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, okay, good.
And we'll remove
Are they
that.
gonna, is this the one on the south side?
Yes, sir.
That one there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one,
Got the big 3-inch, yeah. okay.
yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. And it's gonna be a 2-bay and it'll have 2 regular swings and 2 baby swings.
Okay, good.
And so, yeah, that's gonna really help out with the south side quite a bit.
All right.
Also, let's see, does that park get that? No. Oh, August Park is gonna, I'm waiting on a quote to come back from Craftsman. And we're gonna where the volleyball court is,
Mhm.
you know how it had the landscape timbers in there?
Yes, sir. See,
We're putting that plastic, the plastic stuff, it's gonna be 8 inches. And it's gonna go around the volleyball court instead of the landscape timbers, because with landscape timbers, you got either nails or rebar sticking up and it makes it dangerous. And so I'm waiting on a quote to come back from Craftsman to build the perimeter around that. And also at Lighthouse Beach. Is Lighthouse Beach here?
No, sir. No, go ahead.
Okay, anyway, I've got that same material coming for Lighthouse Beach also. And that's gonna be, I can probably get the material here next week, but by the time I catch up with the mowing, it's probably gonna be a couple of weeks before we're able to jump on that to do anything with it, but I'd like to get it done as soon as I can, as soon as the material gets here. And then as far as the rule signs that go in every park, you know, we're doing that one sign at City Park today. And after they finish that, they're gonna start construction more shadow boxes for the other parks, and we'll get them up at all the parks as we can. And typically I like to start at your park because then I move this way and then I'm done when I get over to the lighthouse. And so,
And here I thought it's because it was on Highway 35.
yeah, plus you're right there on the highway, so we gotta make yours look good.
That is, thank you.
Okay. I think that's all we have on that agenda item. The next item is number 6, receive financial status report on the Parks Recreation Department. Any highlights there?
Was that included in the packet? Oh, okay, I guess I.
Is it not on there?
Not-
I didn't see it.
Oh,
Thought I dropped it.
I don't mean it wasn't there, girl. I just didn't see him.
No, it might have been two that it didn't carry over. He sent it to me.
I'm not aware of anything significant to highlight.
No, I didn't put it on there, but I have it. I can email it out to you. I will email it out.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item 7. Receive status report of the improvements projects at Wilson Park.
Well, the current parking lot and site improvement projects that was Silva's Construction status. As Eddie said, that opened the parking lot last weekend. So that project is complete. I think the final pay request came in yesterday or today. So that's done.
Okay. One of the things, since talking about completing a project, I'm not exactly sure how long I've been on this board, but it's somewhere in the range of about 20 years. And either plus or minus, I'm not sure which, but it's amazing if you could just take a photograph of what it was 20 years ago, our whole park system, and compare it to today. It is night and day difference. It's we've made a lot of progress. It's not necessarily fast, but we've come a long way in 20 years. So just like to make the comment that, mentioned about the skate park earlier and those additions and stuff like that. Even some of the facilities we've already talked about were way different 20 years ago. So it's been an amazing thing to watch over the years. Slow but sure progress. Okay, the next item on the agenda is number 8, receive status report of the mural project, Lighthouse Beach.
That, I haven't actually looked at it in a little while, but I know, with the rain, sure it hasn't been out there at all. So the weather's kind of hindering the last piece of it. I know he stopped working on it when he was working on the, more learning trail, and I'm not sure what, if anything, he's gotten
Yeah,
since, but it's been raining a lot the last couple of weeks.
and that's what's hindering him. He's got like the first 3 letters done, and he's got a few more letters he's filling in. In fact, he was over there day 4 yesterday. It was I think it was day 4 yesterday, but he was adding some more
Details.
skateboarder or something, or
I know he had originally, his goal was to get it done by the end of May, but I know he went counting on
Right, the rain's really hindered him, but in fact, last week he called me and we reinstalled the downspouts. And so he put paint on the downspout so that it would match, the background. And the other day we installed the light back up there. I don't think he's gonna put paint on the light, but we reinstalled it because he had painted all that. So we got the light reinstalled there. So I anticipate by the time we have this next meeting, I'm sure he'll be complete with that.
Did you have anything to add, Bobby?
No, Eddie said, he's just on the letters now, so all of the mural was completely done as far as just the artwork, it's inside the letters. And he's on he just finished the R, so he has the T and then the Lavaca of just the mural inside the letters, and then he's gonna be complete. So he's pretty close to
Okay,
third base.
thank you. I need to take a drive by down there.
Yeah, it's
Not today.
I go down there every other day and I see people standing up. I haven't seen them show up on Facebook, but I see people taking pictures in front of it, So I think it's gonna be money well spent.
All righty. The next item on the agenda is item 9. Consider and discuss exercise court at Bayfront Park.
Yes, so it kind of just ties into what we were talking about first, at the beginning of the meeting. Bringing more activity for the community. And so with what we've got going on, is we have a company called the National Fitness Committee that has approached us. I also have a video that you guys can watch, if you want to watch it first, what I'll do. After you guys can get a little bit of that. Well, while we work on it, so the company been around for quite a while, and what they do is they build fitness courts that are in hubs, around the United States to bring free workouts to the community. So kind of similar to what we talked about as far as some of the families and the people in the community not being able to afford to play on teams or to be able to join gyms. This is a way for us as a city to bring in exercise equipment to one of our parks or to a few of our parks that helps the community get outside, be more, connected, get a little bit more of the elements outside, and at the same time get a workout. The facility is top notch. It's it comes with everything you would need. It has 7 stations. All 7 stations are about a minute each, and it's projected as about 7-minute workout, and you're able to get everything you need in a 7-minute workout. Absolutely free. There's QR codes on all the workouts, so that you aren't just for anybody that doesn't really know what to do. They're able to scan a code and they're able to get a coach on their phone, and it tells them how to do the exercise at each station. And on top of that, there's ways of being able to have people become ambassadors for the gym. And then those people would be able to host classes. So, for example, somebody could say, hey, Friday at 6 o'clock, we're gonna host a 45-minute class.
Go to the
Anybody
next
wants
one.
to come out, they want to work out with us. It's absolutely free. We're outside. And so it's a really cool concept to bring to the city.
Sorry,
Most likely Bayfront.
Better help.
The most ideal place for it, but it would be just, we only have 3 on the coastline. You have 2 in Galveston, and you have 1 in Rockport. So we would be the 4th on this wheel that we speak of.
Right.
That would be, so, and we're right with there with 2 in Galveston and 1 in Rockport, and we would be the 4th, and it's a pretty cool concept.
Ready? Or not?
200 from college campuses to city parks and trails, we're bringing free fitness. We're just getting started. Fitness in people's lives. This year, certified ambassadors will be trained to order challenges. Also, you have to speak. This sport mobile app is a gateway to enroll in these programs. Takes challenges. As we dig deep to create proud to announce cities of all sizes raised millions of dollars from respected sponsors to support free fitness. Wherever fitness is a priority, you can find it in schools. Building beyond 200 cities and colleges, we're now partnering with large sites using urban movement data to map locations for pedestrian. Bringing fitness to 10 minutes of population centers. Are committed to raise $50 million to bring the campaign to cities. The largest business movement in the world. Join us. Let's get this.
I like the concept.
What's hardcore stuff? It's for every level of working out. There are different levels on every station. So there's from beginners to advanced. It catches everybody in every range as far as how advanced you are. But it's a really cool concept. Like I said, it has 7 workout stations that you can go through. It has QR codes for you to scan for a coach to be able to teach you how to actually do the workout. Like I said, it has ambassador training. We also got a grant. Well, we're in the line for a grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so the court itself is about $175,000. With the grants and everything, we'll be looking at about 120 to 135, which would be ours. But then we also have the ability to go to any of the local businesses and nonprofits or anybody that would be able to help us bring this to the community and just bring more awareness of outside fitness, free fitness for all, not just Port Lavaca, but all of the communities around us, because it would be a cool concept to, just anytime you want to get out and get a workout in, you have it right there.
And we talked about, assuming we've got interest in pursuing something like this, getting with the Memorial Medical Center. They may be interested in with this in some way, or getting grants from some of the area industry. Not something that the city would foot the entire bill.
Right.
How big a footprint are we talking about, Jody?
It's 35.
Yeah, so the court is, I want to say it's like a 30 by 30. And there's
30 foot or 30 yards? 30 foot?
feet.
30 feet.
So just 10 by 10 yards by 10 yards. Not very big.
It's not huge.
Yeah, they're not huge. Now, there's also another option to add a studio side of it to where it's just with no equipment. And then that gives you it's about 2,000 square footage with both of them. But yeah, they're not very big. It's just enough for you to get in, get your workout in, and then you just keep on.
One of the things that I would ask is, do they make this equipment that, we talk about the salty air climate that we have here. Do they make that equipment resistant?
In the video, as you can see, they definitely have a target of the water side. So that's where the company tries to go, because they want to have the scenery of, having the water in the area. So they would build for the water to, the weather and all of that with their equipment.
Yeah, I asked the same question. I haven't seen all the specifications, but yeah, they told us.
Yeah.
And we're trying to put it at the bayfront.
That's one of the, I think all that's up to discussion, and even, just bringing this as something staff's been looking at, is it something that interests the Parks Board, that they would support? We just in general in passing, really mention it to,
Yeah.
hospital, but, if it's something that we're really interested in pursuing, then yeah, the idea is to make this a community effort, not just the city, but then reach out to the hospital, to other organizations. And HEB.
Like Champion Horses, yeah, because they do that as well.
You know,
Generally thinking.
I've been a proponent of doing something like that at Bayfront, but my idea was to make it more like the Hershey Park in Northwest Houston, where they have 2 or 3 little things scattered around their walking trails instead of one central, I don't know what you call it, but area like that, but you know, where you can spread out over a walking trail.
Similar to like Riverside in Victoria, they have,
What they've done there.
Riverside has the walking trail, and then, you know, every, say, half a mile, they have some type of a station that you can do a pull up or push up or a crunch.
Right.
You're walking essentially to each station, so within the walking, you're getting your workout to get the workout. And with this one, it's more or less just all in one.
Yeah.
But then almost all the parks have some type of a trail that you can walk to.
Yeah.
And walk through, and then, you know, still get your workout in, and then get you some more miles of walking.
Well, it sounds like we want to pursue this, do we not, Jody?
Well, that, yeah, I mean,
I mean, do we take a vote?
I think, do we need to do an inquiry with like Memorial Medical first to find out if they're interested in?
yeah, I don't think we're not at the point that we're asking you to
Consider.
ask council to fund this yet, but it's something we, you know,
Need a
bounce-
plan.
you make sure we're heading in the right direction. We'll do some more, and realistically, I don't know if it's something we can fund this coming year, but I mean, we're at that time to start looking at what we want to fund this coming year. Give Bobby, you know, we'll go green light, to go ahead and start, you know, approach the hospital and see if there is other interest in the community in doing something like
Sorry, I know HEB is big time into this.
Yes,
HEB, so that's not what I tell him, HEB, because I know that's another one you need to approach.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, y'all were the first ones, you know.
I would like to see us pursue it. I know we better have a plan and stuff, so.
I suppose you could make a motion that we at least pursue the, you know, the initial inquiries with other organizations and see if there's an interest in their participation, and then that way we will know what the city would have to do to contribute to doing it.
I'll make a motion that we pursue the exercise court with the companies and organizations within our cities. Is that right?
Suppose.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to at least start the initial inquiries about pursuing an exercise court. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is consider and discuss the 2023 capital improvements plan for the Parks Department.
If I may, just to start the conversation again, what we're looking at doing is just start, you know, make sure that we give in Parks Board members an opportunity to chime in on ideas, particularly in your assigned parks or any park, that as staff starts looking deeper into expanding or revisiting our 5-year plan, and specifically what we want to try to budget for this coming year. We want to make sure we get everything that we've got in our minds, the things that we need to be looking at, make sure we've got it on the list. So a couple of things I wanted to bring up, so I've been thinking about this, is one, I need to try very hard to budget. I'm thinking about $60,000 this coming year to hire someone to prepare a master parks. It's been a number of years since we've had one. I don't honestly know when the last one was, but I know it was over 5 years ago. And in order for us to qualify for the big Parks and Wildlife money, over $500,000, you have to have master parks plan that's less than 5 years old. So that's what I'm thinking about, go ahead and budget to prepare a master parks plan. Second, we've had a lot of buzz about pickleball courts. In addition to basketball courts too, pickleball courts, there's a lot of buzz. Is it something, that we want to try to do soon, or at least put on our 5-year plan? Where? The other question, Wilson Park, because there's been a lot of talk about Bayfront, but Bobby had somebody go down there, right? And the comment from this company that builds them was, he thought it was a little too windy down there. It's windy all the time, Bayfront, and so and what I was thinking is pickleball courts might fit in the north side of Wilson Park, kind of back behind that one of the ball fields. To
The playscape, Jody?
No, on the other side, the north side.
That's what I'm saying, but.
The north side, not north side of the road, north side of the road. To where, because I'm just talking to a few people that play pickleball. Sometimes they can get really serious and they may not want to be right there beside the playscape or where kids run around. They may be okay with kind of being on their own back in that corner. I don't know, I'm just ideas thrown out, things to think about.
How big is a pickleball court? I have no idea.
It's a little smaller than a tennis court.
Half the size.
Okay,
Half the
it's
size.
bigger than the pad that you're talking about. in
It's
Tennessee.
just a little bit bigger. Almost if you were to do both sides of the pad that they offer, right now we're just going to do one, but if you do both, it'd be about that size.
And then we need to, recently Parks Department's been in the process of doing a condition survey of all our picnic tables. And to where the idea is we need to get those replaced. The ones that are bowed up or splintered or whatever, we need to make sure we get money in here next year to get those things placed. So I would like to see that.
They're all being replaced as it is. They're,
Yeah, if we get it before this year, that's great, but that needs to be an important priority.
Are we looking at the picnic tables made out of wood, or are we talking about those ones that are the fiberglass particle, not particle, I'm sorry, that's.
We're
Plastic.
we're replacing them with treated 6-foot picnic tables as the metal, you've seen the metal ones are rusting out and stuff, and a lot of the fiberglass is deteriorating on them. And as we find one that are dangerous, we're removing them and replacing them with the 6-footers. And and we're adding more at Tilly, behind the bathroom. We're gonna mount 2 on a slab. It was at an empty bathroom. So there'll be more seating there. Now, recently, we had the Earth Day, and we took extra picnic tables down there for that. And the weekend after that, there was truck marks. Somebody had backed up and was gonna load one of them up, and somebody ran them off. And they were backed right up to the picnic tables that weren't mounted. And evidently PD or somebody scared them off, but they left ruts, But that's if we do put picnic tables and we just put them out there on the grass, that's what we might have a problem with. And they're not cheap. Right now.
Are y'all making them or y'all buying them?
Purchasing them from Coastal Nail and Tool. And
they're prefabbed, we put them together.
Yeah.
And the reason we've switched to the wood tables is because the fiberglass and the metal tables are so much more expensive, and they do grow legs and walk away.
I think there's an issue with chaining it down. You know,
No,
right.
typically that's what we've been doing, and these picnic tables that we are purchasing, they are constructed with stainless steel screws. So they
Yeah.
tend to last longer than, a lot of these older tables are just galvanized steel. And so,
This is the one, excuse me, they turn silver, right, as they age?
yeah, pretty much,
They turn silver?
yeah.
That's better than the green.
There's a lot of picnic tables out there, so, I ordered 10, I think we've already put 6 together. We've got about 4 or 5 more at the shop that we'll put together, and because typically the ones that are at Lighthouse Beach were steel, and so the pipe is rusting out, and as soon as Bobby calls me and says, "Hey, number 23 picnic table," we go and remove it that day, and then we replace it with a brand new one. And a lot of them back in the days, there's eye bolts sticking up out of the slab, so we can anchor them down, where they could still move them like north south. All the ones that are located at the pavilions on the beach, they're mounted down to the concrete, so they can't be removed.
Good.
But yeah, with these 6-footers, are a whole lot easier to put in the back of a truck than it is those 8-footers. So yeah, we'll anchor everyone we can down.
Also, I was thinking, our last trails grant that we did down at Bayfront was such a success. I'm considering, or would like for us to consider applying for another Parks and Wildlife Trails grant, which does not require a master plan. And so if we were going to do that, when you think about, which park would have the priority, we would be most likely looking at another walking trail. We could propose a walking trail around the entire perimeter of Wilson Park. And that might go along with the skate park. It might score well because the skate park, because if it's a multi-use pad, you could say it's also for bikes. It could be on the skate park pad and then also bike around the perimeter, or one around the perimeter of City Park. Those are two to consider. Now looking at the individual parks, Bayfront, a couple years ago, we put a shade structure at the splash pad at Lighthouse Beach. There's been interest and suggestions that we put a shade structure at the smaller splash pad at Bayfront Park.
Might I make a suggestion on that? Rather than put a shade structure up now, I've been asked several times to upgrade that splash pad
Okay,
because it has no features and the kids want features. And if we had that splash pad had features and more options, then we wouldn't have the crowding we have at Lighthouse Beach.
so maybe an upgrade to the splash pad.
And then we can look at, if we budget for an upgrade to the splash pad, we can add in the shade structure as well.
Okay. Other ideas again, or things, again, we're trying to populate a 5-year plan. So we're not saying that it's all going to happen next year, but again, it needs to be on a list. We got parking improvements behind nautical landings. Right now, I'm thinking, that could be in part Port Commission, but it's also parks. I mean, we're kind of realizing that parking area is going to need to become more of a public parking lot. Some of the activity that we're hoping to in downtown and at the park, as far as our downtown waterfront master plan, we're going to need to have some more public parking. That's a good place to establish some, but so I'm not sure if it's actually parks or Port Commission or just city in general, but I just wanted to put it on the list to be thinking about that. It would be, because it also would be parking, for Bayfront Park as well. And if you recall in the downtown master plan, there was a suggestion for that lot that, just to the side as you enter the park, you're putting that into some sort of plaza area. So that and enlarging or widening the entrance exit to the park, all that could be a project. A little plaza area and an entrance exit to the park. I did have a suggestion was made at a recent workshop I went to that an area like that might also be something we could think about. Have a couple slots or design it to where you could have food trucks in there, 1 or 2 food trucks in that plaza area that would attract people to get downtown and on into the park for events or whatever. And then the exercise quote we talked about at Butterfly Park, again, with a nice fence instead of the wood fence and some landscaping. So, we talked about this a few times, and I'm going to do my very best to do this before the next meeting, is get a survey out to the residents of Colorado Estates, asking them what they would like to see done in the area where we've got that exercise now. Do we need to invest the money to improve all that with exercise equipment, or would they rather see something else there? Budget for just more picnic tables, swing set, playscape. What would they rather see that area used for, if not exercise? City Park, on the landscaping, and at some point down the future, maybe a nice big sign like we're looking at. Get our gateway signs similar maybe to the sign we've got at Chile and Hackley. Again, a perimeter walking trail, parking lot improvements. There's 3 parking lots there. One by the group shelter and next one down Hackley, and then the one over by Ashley Field. At some point, all 3 of those could easily use a nice facelift. Also a music park. When we Born Learning Trail out, there's an area that's designated between the Born Learning Trail and the playscape, big triangular space that is kind of set aside for a music park. And I know I can't think right now, whoever I'm sorry, the organization that United Way, yeah. United Way is they're got a resource where they may be able to get some grant funds to help with that, as well as my thought. That's something we could easily reach out and get donations from area businesses and even individuals to help fund that, to where that's not something that's really got to come out of our budget too much, except for installation, that sort of thing. But the bulk of it could come from private donations. In Wilson Park, we talked about at some point installing a small, just men and women prefab restroom near Cedar Street or near the skate park or soccer fields on that end. A perimeter walking, biking trail, and potential pickleball courts. We heard another idea, would be a covered basketball court at Wilson Park. Like I said, in the master plan, we did show an area for a basketball court that could easily be made into covered. George Adams Park, again, parking improvements and sidewalks around the entire block of George Adams Park. Of course, we wouldn't want to do anything till after the street improvements are done, but once they're done, that might be a good time to go in there and at least make improvements to the parking areas. And then, we could budget to put a perimeter sidewalk around the whole block as a little walking trail for the residents down there. Double the size of the basketball court to make a full-size basketball court. And then, a shelter could be added if this is where we wanted the full basketball court. And there's been talk in the past about potentially down the road, a splash pad at George Adams Park as well. And I know Wayne will probably add to this too, but I don't have anything in here for pool. But and actually, I think I ran out of time because I don't even have White House Beach on. White House Beach, the pool, obviously there's improvements that need to be made, upgrades to that pool. White House Beach, I mean, at some point we need to look at upgrades to the boat ramp, the basin itself, because some of those that bulkheading is not gonna last that much longer. I mean, at some point within the next 5 years, I think we need to be looking at, reworking the bulkheading in that basin, master planning some of the area that's east of the boat ramp, and in the area around where the tent campsites are. What are we going to do with that area? We talked about a sidewalk from the splash pad to the restrooms. Just kind of master plan that whole area a little bit. Those are just some of my ideas, but I wanted to just have an opportunity today for you guys, things that you may have been thinking about that you either hadn't said or may have forgotten about it, but we want to get it at least on a list that then we can, like I said, it's not a promise that it's going to get funded next year or even the year after that or whatever, but at least see if we can fit it in a 5-year plan.
And as Jody said, this is an opportunity for all of the board members to put in their thoughts and ideas and aspirations in the development of the CIP. And touching on the pool, I'm gonna be meeting with urban engineering we have to redo the pump building and all the piping going to the pool in order to make it through, we may make it through 3 seasons, we may make it through this one. The current rate of the infrastructure it's exceeded its life. So.
How old is that?
It was 70s, right?
1932.
Yeah, 17. I mean, and it was built, if I'm not mistaken, it was built with part of the grant.
Yeah.
That's
what it says on the sign.
So I'm gonna meet with urban engineering to redo the piping. We'll build a new pump house. We'll be adding another sand filter and another pump so that we have backup. So if one pump goes down, we're not dead in the water. We don't have to shut the pool down. If one sand filter fails, we have the redundancy. We won't have to shut down. We'll have backup so that we can repair and keep. Because the loss of the pool, even though it would be detrimental to our community.
And my gut feeling is for the next few years, I mean, we all know that the state of Texas has plenty of money right now. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. And so I think, programs like Texas Parks and Wildlife grant programs will be well funded for the foreseeable future. And that's to me, that's one of the important things about getting a new master parks plan, because we are ineligible for the big money. We can apply for the small grants, which are up to 100,000. That's it. And we can apply for these trail grants, which that's up to 200,000, but they're very specific in what we can apply for, what the scope of them are. And then we can apply for voting access grants, which is what we have done for the breakwater at Nautical Landings. But the big projects, we are ineligible to apply because we don't have a master
This is next year's budget, Jody, the $60,000 just for that.
Yes, that's what I'm.
So that's gonna be looking at,
hoping If we get, I'm hoping we can hit that.
so we're looking at 2025? By the time we get a plan and
Yeah, we
everything?
would not be able to apply for big money but what I'm hoping that we, this coming year, we would go ahead and make an attempt to try for another trails grant. Because that one does not rely on it. And I'm also, for a long time, Parks and Wildlife really didn't have that much money. They weren't funded well. And so, cities weren't really applying too much, and it wasn't a big deal that you didn't have a master parks plan, because it was really hard to get, I guess is what I'm saying. It was very, very competitive because they weren't well funded. I think that tide is changing where, Parks and Wildlife is pretty well funded and they've got a lot more money to give. And so in order for us to get in line, so to speak, and, try to get some of that, you've got to have a master parks.
One of the things about this list, and it's actually kind of nice, there's probably really not much on here that we haven't already discussed for future projects. When does the meat of the budgeting process take place? Is it July that it really starts?
The end of July is when we'll be presenting having our detailed workshops with council.
Okay.
So staff's working on this in
One of the things
our July.
that I would like to suggest is if we can, and I realize that they may not be very accurate, but if we could put some ballpark numbers on the costs of some of these items, or most of them, then I would like for the Parks Board members to go through and kind of assess what they think are the higher priorities. And I know with me, when I look at priority things, part of it I have to consider is the cost versus the benefit. So it'd be nice to have some numbers associated with this.
I think the first step and what we're trying to identify today is at least make sure we've got any ideas down on the list, even start looking price.
Yeah, I think
You guys may have an idea we hadn't even thought about.
with the exception of maybe something like the exercise court, which is somewhat of a new item. We've all seen these things and they're on all of our wish lists. So we just need to figure out which ones are more.
Well, and then
Okay, and to-
something else.
That's to add to that. This has been an ongoing list. Now, mind you, as the idea of this list is that things fall off of it as they're completed.
Right.
So what we're asking for is more things to put on this list.
Okay.
Because this list right now only projects out for in certain areas, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
We need to go at minimum 5 years out. I would like to see us be able to go 10, but at least 5 years out on the CIP.
Yeah. In light of the earlier discussion, the other thing that I bring up too, and that's a good point. When we were talking about the basketball court idea, I started to say that I had a vague recollection that we were talking about doubling the size of the court at George Adams. And the new twist to that is adding a cover to it.
And again, that could be done in stages.
Yes, but that would be something to consider since we're already looking at making, I guess it would be more or less a regulation size court. I know it's doubling it, but I don't remember if it's a true half court now or not.
I don't honestly know. I think it is.
It's not.
Is it?
It's not, the way the basketball goals are this way, and it's not true size half court. You have a little more length if you go this way with it. So we have to be adding more length towards the restroom.
And George Adams, which
Yeah,
is on
you're
George Adams.
oriented north-south and stuff. It's oriented east-west right now.
again, just talking, so maybe, I mean, it's still, I don't think it would be necessarily a waste to double the court at George Adams, but save. But have it, you know, if we're gonna go to trouble putting a cover on it, I'm thinking we would want it to be a true basketball size.
Yeah.
So plan on that being brand new, say at Wilson Park, you know, entirely all new construction, new full-size court and a.
And
Okay, I understand that.
I wouldn't just, you know, I would look at it this way. I would put a full-size covered court at George Adams, and it was planned for in the future at Wilson anyway. I would do the same thing there. They're very popular.
Yes. If we can. I mean, and maybe, I mean, I don't know, you know, if it would, what it would take to demo what's there and just.
I mean, I think adding to it would be fine. I mean, it wouldn't, I mean, the concrete there is fine. I mean, it's just be moving. We already have 2 goals there. We simply just have to move the goals. On sides and then add another piece of concrete there. And
Well,
you have,
to make it covered, you'd have to expand it
yeah,
all the way around. There's,
But again, I mean, the cover can be totally independent of the board, you know.
but I will say they're very popular. The most used thing at the Portland Recreation Center is their outdoor covered basketball courts.
100%. 100%. It's an individual sport. So other than like soccer, baseball, football, where you have to have a bunch of people, easy for one person to grab a basketball and go shoot it.
Or does like Craftsman have a vendor that builds those? Or is that something you go to like Metal Mart or whatever, and have a contractor sign and build? I don't honestly know.
You'd have to have a design built,
They don't have like prefab.
not for basketball courts.
And then we're right here with hurricanes.
Yeah,
That'd be when,
it would definitely have to be.
Yeah. Just, it's just like a group shelter, except it's smaller.
The Portland has them, Corpus has them. Corpus is always full of kids playing basketball.
Now, I think.
And theirs
everybody has a ball, right?
is right on the bayfront, so.
Thing for this coming year, if we can fit that in. Even maybe, I mean, I don't know, if we can do that in pickleball court.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pickleball is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the mom and the kids.
Well, and then you could incorporate it at Wilson Field, you could incorporate it, you'd have your basketball court area, then you can put your pickleball court area next to it. And it could all be covered. So that, you know.
Pickleball too?
And we might be able to do it when we do a full size court with what we have at George Adams and not cover that one and then just cover the one at Wilson. So if it is a rainy day, you know that you go to Wilson, and if it isn't a rainy day, then you have 2 courts to play at, you know, and so where if it's, you know, one of those days where it's raining, everybody knows, go to Wilson. And if not, then we just have one court we're ready to go with full size without the shade that.
Oh, the shade is critical though.
No, and then, but you know, most of those kids are working out, so they're already in the sun. So I do agree with you, the shade is very, you know, important, but a lot of them are, they just want to get out and get active, and so the sun isn't gonna do anything but help them sweat and get a good, you know. workout.
When I was,
And you know, they don't play without a shirt.
when I was a kid, I didn't care about the weather. If I wanted to play basketball, rain or shine, I went.
And then bring the shade to George Adams down the line, you know, but at least getting them a full-size court for the city to play. I think that helps out.
Yeah, like a minimum double George Adams next year.
Yes.
So what would be the largest expense there? The slab?
Slap.
Yeah.
Well, I
Because I
mean.
can't see the awning or the cover or whatever being very expensive unless we're
That would be
gonna.
expensive.
Yeah.
Gonna have lights? I mean, I'm just asking, would they be lit?
Yeah, you'd have to.
Well, you're looking at the actual meet windstorm and everything, the steel structure to cover that is gonna be, you know, $80,000-$90,000. Easy.
That's gonna be the biggest
I mean,
expense.
that is the biggest expense, the concrete stuff. I mean,
Yes,
it's not cheap.
and the goals are there already.
Okay.
Well, now we done figured out. Thanks,
Well, I
Bobby.
mean, again, if nobody's got any ideas right now, but please think about it and then email us, because, you know, we're bringing this to you, trying to bring this early before we really get down into it. Yeah.
Well, then I have a question now. Well, we were just discussing about the basketball. Would that be, see you later, Mark. Would that be in the 5-year plan? Or would that be in the,
I mean, we will put it in the 5-year plan, but we would hope we try to get it in this
Sooner?
year.
okay.
And when I say 5-year plan, that doesn't mean
Did he leave?
5 years.
Don't have a quorum any longer.
So, yeah.
Yeah, this was just discussion anyway.
Okay, we make motion to close the meeting.
Well,
Well, then are we gonna wait, since we don't have a quorum, or to go to Wilson, or? you wanna-
Yes, ma'am.
yes, I think that's what we should do. What did we do the last time? Table the
No,
items?
we
How did we
just
do
don't,
it?
because if we, so, I mean, we can just say that we're just postpone.
Postpone it.
Okay. We'll do the same thing. So
We're never gonna
I
get to
guess,
it.
I was gonna say, because we haven't gone.
We're never gonna go to Wilson Park.
It'll
But the meeting is closed. I don't know if there's any.
can we adjourn a meeting without a quorum? Now?
Probably if we all just walk out.
It's okay.
Maybe let's start working on it.
Yeah,
Mackerel.
That'll be the longest meeting on record.
How did we lose control of this?
And anyhow, I apologize for my tardiness, but I had an interview that ran long. And it was actually very, very promising.
Good.
It's,
So was Olga gonna try to catch him?
it's okay, we'll just make a motion.
I make a
Motion that we adjourn. I'll second it, I guess. All in favor? Okay, we're adjourned. We will go to Wilson Park hopefully next month.
By then, everything should be done.
Thank y'all for being here. And I don't know. Did Jody put some numbers on these things? You know, man.
An estimate.
Huh?
It would probably be,
Just,
an
yeah,
yeah,
I'm saying,
an
just a
estimate, cost
a
estimate.
ball.
We're gonna work on it, but it's gonna be tough.
Yes, I can see that thing.
Yeah, we're.
Because look at the way